What's going on, you guys? This is DerekJ Speaks, and today we are talking about WWE Saturday night's main event live in Tampa, Florida on May 24th, 2025. Another one of these Saturday night's main event shows that WWE has done. They brought it back in December of last year. They had one right before the Royal Rumble earlier this year. They're already planning another one coming up in July. So these are pretty regular now. And we're 3 in, and just looking at this show, you compare it to the one in January and the one in December, and I'm pretty much of the opinion that these are just glorified house shows. They have cut back on doing house shows, and this card on this show, on this night, I look at the ones that they've done up to this point. It's just a glorified house show. It's a condensed version of Raw and SmackDown. There's nothing overly exciting about it. I mean, on this show, you had 2 big returns, so you can't say nothing important happens, but just the way the show is, it doesn't feel entirely important, and the formatting of these shows are just awful, with the shots of the legends in the crowd and the interviews, especially with Jesse Ventura, the constant commercial breaks throughout many of the matches and the action on this show, especially in cases where they cut to a commercial break, they come back from break, they do nothing, they show a video package, they're showing all this other stuff, and then they cut to yet another commercial break, come back from that break, start a new match, get about 30 seconds, maybe a minute into that match, and then cut to yet another commercial break. It is ridiculous. The main event for the World Heavyweight Championship didn't start until about 9:50 p.m., at least my time, 9:50 p.m. And then they cut to a commercial break about 30 seconds into the match. And then everything at the end just felt completely rushed. Although it was good to see Cody Rhodes come back, because on this show, Cody Rhodes did make his return at the end of the night to save Jey Uso from an attack from John Cena. An out of nowhere attack from John Cena, mind you. Now, they did have a quick backstage interaction between John Cena and Jey Uso backstage earlier in the night, but it was Cena basically trolling Jey Uso with the idea that he could lose his championship to a YouTuber. I could understand it if Jey Uso maybe popped off a comment to Cena and said something disrespectful to him, or even slapped him or something like that, and security gets in the middle of them, and that leads to John Cena coming out. But there was nothing that really called for John Cena to involve himself in the championship match between Jey Uso and Logan Paul. The only reason John Cena came out there is because they had a tag team match to book for Money in the Bank, and they wanted to put the bare minimum into setting it up. And that's exactly what they did. Uso and Logan Paul were having, I can't even really call it that good of a match. It was, they were clearly just rushing and spamming spots and just doing stuff, because again, their match didn't start until about 9:50. They cut to a commercial break right in the middle of it, so then they came back, and now it's like 9:54, 9:55. We got 5 or 6 minutes left in the show, so they're not really doing much of anything. This is a World Heavyweight Championship match, mind you. So they're not really doing much here. And, they hit moves okay, but the match was nothing. It was a complete backdrop to the finish, which was John Cena coming out, pulling out the referee, attacking Jey Uso, and then they hit Cody Rhodes' theme music. And out comes Cody Rhodes. He attacks Cena. He hits him with the crossroads. Logan Paul goes to the outside, gets his brass knucks, goes to swing on Cody. Cody ducks it, and then he eats a super kick, Logan Paul does, from Jey Uso, who puts him down with the Uso splash, and the referee gets back in, counts the 1, 2, 3. So at least there was a finish. I thought when Cena pulled out the referee and all this stuff was going on at the end here, I thought that they were just going to blow the match off and call it a wash here. But no, they did give the win to Jey Uso, albeit under dubious circumstances. So I don't know if this could lead to Logan Paul getting another shot at the championship in the future. I would prefer not to see that, but we'll see. But this did set up for Cody Rhodes to make the announcement. After the match, Cody got on the mic, quickly said what he had to say, and challenged John Cena and Logan Paul to a tag team match against himself and Jey Uso for Money in the Bank, which is 2 weeks from this day, as of this recording. This is Saturday, so it is 2 weeks from today. So there is your, I assume, main event on that night at Money in the Bank. And yeah. Now, the rumors going around for the past week or so is that there would be a big match for Cena at Money in the Bank, but it would be a 6-man tag team match where John Cena would team up with Logan Paul and Travis Scott against Cody Rhodes and the Usos, Jimmy and Jey, together. So right now, they just announced a tag team match. We'll see if it stays like that. Quite frankly, I would prefer it did, only because I have zero interest in seeing Travis Scott be brought back and be involved in any of this stuff. He had his stuff at WrestleMania. Just leave it there and move on. But the man's been training. Has he been training with, like Booker T or some? There's some name that he's been training with. I think it's Booker, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so he's training for something. So this could still end up being a 6-man tag, and Travis Scott could still be involved. Maybe it's not even Jimmy Uso. Maybe it ends up being Bad Bunny, because there were also rumors that there would be a tag team match where John Cena teamed up with Travis Scott to take on Cody Rhodes and Bad Bunny. That was a rumor going around too. So I don't know. Maybe they'll save that for the Saudi show, if John Cena's on the Saudi show, that is. But yeah, I don't know. But as a tag team match, just Cena, Logan, Cody, Jey. Again, a very, very thin setup here. All of it just taking place in a span of like 60 seconds here at the end of the night. But, it is what it is. The highlight of the night, honestly, was what opened the show, which was the tag team match where Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker took on CM Punk and Sami Zayn. Again, the match itself wasn't all that great. It was better than the main event, but the match itself, it was a fun little sprint of a match. That's kind of par for the course now with these Saturday night's main event shows, where these matches just feel like these guys are just sprinting through their stuff. And this match was no exception here. But the big story was, again, the finish, where Sami Zayn is setting up for a haluva kick on Bron Breakker, gets tripped up by Paul Heyman. This distracts the referee long enough for Bronson Reed to make his return. He hops the barricade, gets out of the crowd, and just steamrolls over Punk and crashes right into him through the timekeeper's area. And then Sami, meanwhile, in the ring, is met with a vicious spear from Bron Breakker, who gets the 1-2-3 for himself and Seth Rollins. After the match, there was a brief standoff between Breakker and Bronson Reed, but Rollins welcomed Bronson Reed with open arms, gave him a hug. Punk tried to get at Paul Heyman, but then Bronson Reed put him down with a splash and then went up top. And as Bron Breakker and Seth Rollins was holding down Punk, hit him with the tsunami splash. So finally got the third man. People have been begging for a third man. They've been talking about a third man for months now, going back to the whole John Cena selling his soul to The Rock thing, and people thinking that there was going to be a third man there. And then there was nothing that came from that. And so then once Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker started this alliance with Paul Heyman, people have been, at least people in my circle and following on Twitter/X, people have been begging for a third man. Like, oh, who's going to be the third man? Is it going to be this person or that person? People were throwing the name Bronson Reed out there, but You had other people who were like, well, Bronson Reed, I think he's still out injured. I don't think he's clear to compete yet. I don't think he's going to come back anytime soon. And here we go. We have Bronson Reed back. He's on Team Rollins. It is funny knowing that it was just last year, not even a full year ago, that Bronson Reed first really broke out by laying out Seth Rollins with however many tsunami splashes he hit him with last year, put Rollins on the shelf for several months. So they're going to have a hell of a time explaining that, but it would not be the first time we've seen two people come together after having some kind of beef in the past. Hell, Hulk Hogan and the NWO tried to murder The Rock in the lead up to WrestleMania 18. They put him in an ambulance. They rammed a car or a truck, not even a car. It was a Mack truck right into the ambulance, tried to destroy The Rock. And literally weeks later, Hulk Hogan and The Rock are shaking hands. They're hugging. They're smiling. After that, they were tag team partners and all buddy together. So this stuff happens all the time. It's happened for years. It happens in all different wrestling companies. So I wouldn't be shocked if they don't really make any mention of it. I think they will, or at least they'll say something like, oh, Bronson Reed earned my respect, and in return, Bronson Reed respects Seth Rollins and respects the division, blah, 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 respects Paul Heyman, whatever you want to call it. I think the trio is very formidable, so that'll be cool to see. Also on this show, we had a steel cage match take place between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, and what I assume is the blow-off to their feud. It certainly felt that way with the ending, with Damian Priest laying out Drew with a concerto. And as Michael Cole on commentary pointed out, it was the same move that he himself did once to Edge back in the Judgment Day era. And instead of pinning him, Priest decided to walk right out the front door, got on the floor, and he won the match that way. And this greatly upset and offended Jesse the Body Ventura, who once again was on one of these Saturday Night's Main Event shows. He was on commentary and he was flipping his shit over Damian Priest winning the match by walking out of the cage. I guess this is his gimmick now, that they bring him onto these shows, they let him call one match, and whatever that match is, he just finds something to get really pissy about, especially when it comes to the finish. It happened on the first one. He called the Kevin Owens CODY RHODES match, and he was upset about that. There was a match with Sheamus and Braun Breaker on the one in January. He got upset over something there. So this is something for him to get upset about here. It is what it is. I thought the match was really good, and I thought that Priest definitely needed the win more. McIntyre, surprise, he's working hurt. This is not the first time we've heard that about Drew McIntyre. The dude's a warrior, but, with the finish done here the way it was, hopefully this is a way to write Drew McIntyre off of TV for a little bit, maybe help him get healed up so he can, maybe be able to turn his head left, which he had an interview this past week saying that he's pretty banged up and I don't think he can entirely turn his head left right now. So maybe let's let him go off and rest up so he can at least do that. I mentioned John Cena coming out at the end of the show and having that backstage interaction with Jey Uso. Before any of that, he had a match of his own against R-Truth. And this match was exactly what it needed to be. John Cena just mauling R-Truth. They gave Truth a little bit of a hope spot there. They let him do the 5 moves of doom, and he even hit an AA on John Cena, which was a pretty fun near fall. But it was pretty much all Cena, and in the end, Cena went to the outside, got the championship belt, threatened to hit Truth with it, but he had almost like this moment of clarity, this realization, maybe just a glimmer of regret over his actions when he came face to face with Truth, who looked very disappointed in Cena. And so Cena turned the belt over to the referee, and this got R-Truth all excited. The same R-Truth who came out and entered this match in John Cena cosplay. He had Cena's music playing. He had one of Cena's old t-shirts on. He even had a tape covering the John name and put Ron, so he was Ron Cena. I thought that was pretty humorous. But yeah, it looks like Cena turned a new leaf here. He's back to being the old John Cena. And of course, anyone with a brain knew exactly what this was. As soon as the referee turned his back, Cena kicks R-Truth low, right in the dick, hits him with the AA, and gets the win. So, quick work of R-Truth here. This is exactly what it needed to be. Nothing more, nothing less. And it was designed to get heat on Cena, but it didn't really do that great of a job because these fans still went crazy for him. You had some boos, and of course you had the "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks" chants, but some of the crowd were trying to chant "You can't wrestle," and some of the crowd was chanting "Yes he can." For the most part, they were cheering for John Cena. They didn't boo R-Truth though. They cheered for R-Truth too, but this was a pro Cena crowd, which most crowds have been in spite of this heel run, which just has not really been lighting my world on fire. You know, the stuff they've done with him or haven't done with him just hasn't been all that exciting. And, you know, this was fine for what it was on this show. And, you know, the stuff at the end of the show. Honestly, this show was probably the most consistently heelish stuff that we've gotten from John Cena, where he's appeared more than once on one single show. He's done heelish things. He beat up a beloved babyface in his own match. He tried to screw over another top babyface at the end. He scurried off. Now he's about to team up with another big heel at the next pay-per-view. So that's all good. But yeah, this Cena heel, I mean, it's like over a decade too late. I don't buy into it. Neither does a lot of the crowd, which is why they keep cheering for him. And quite frankly, when you look at John Cena and the way that he walks out and the way he cuts his promos and the substance of what he's saying, you can almost feel like he himself doesn't really buy into it, and he's not really committed to it fully. So how can I feel invested when it doesn't look like he's completely invested? Outside of the night of Elimination Chamber when he first turned heel, and I'll even throw in that first promo on Raw back in March when he cut that promo on the fans, and even that, people argue, just felt forced because of, you know, the whole abusive relationship and the fans hating on him and all that stuff. Sure. But I'll throw it a bone and say he had a little bit more passion behind his delivery there than he really has for a lot of the stuff that he's done since then. And this heel run has just fell flat. I am not really invested in it, and I really don't know what all they can do to make me any more or less excited for it. This tag team match is not going to do much either. Maybe once we get an eventual John Cena CM Punk feud, maybe that'll do something. But till then, this just really hasn't been cutting it. And the only other match on this show was a women's match for the Women's U.S. Championship, Zelina Vega against Chelsea Green. It was a fine match. The fans were a little quiet, but they started to get into it. But unfortunately, led to a botch where Zelina was going for the 619, and she got caught up in the ropes, couldn't fully deliver it. And it looks like her foot caught Chelsea right in the face, right in the nose, because afterwards Chelsea's nose was all busted up. The Secret Hervis, Piper Niven, and Alba Fire, they tried to interfere, but Zelina ended up hitting an Avalanche Code Red to get the win, retaining her championship. Very ugly finish there, but it is what it is. They did announce on this show that Evolution, the all-women's PLE pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it, it's coming July 13th, Sunday, July 13th, one day after the All-In pay-per-view for AEW. So WWE has Saturday night's main event that night, and they'll have Evolution the next night. Very clearly transparent is this company, but oh well. That does it for this show. There really isn't much else to talk about. That's really all there is to it, and that's about it for me. So stay tuned to this channel, and I'll be back about 24 hours from now to cover AEW Double or Nothing. But until then, hit that like button, subscribe, follow on Twitter /X, DerekJ Speaks. Take care, guys.